The new season of Alone in the Wilderness has begun, set in the harsh wilderness of Tasmania, Australia. Contestants endure not just the biting cold, but also a deathly silence, intensifying their isolation immensely. In this barren wilderness, even death would weep and walk away. 10 survival experts have arrived to face the ultimate challenge. They must depend solely on their survival skills to endure, the one who outlasts the others. The last one standing wins $250,000. First up is 52-year-old Gina, a true survival powerhouse. With that look, she gives off the vibe of someone here to win it all. The second contestant is 22-year-old Jimmy, so young to be joining a wilderness survival show. Such a baby face. If he lasts more than 3 days, I'll call the guys in the comment section dad. The third contestant is 42-year-old Baker. He's a school teacher using his winter break to test his limits in the wild. Master science and math, and you can face anything without fear. This statement is about to be proven true for him. Next up is 45-year-old Mick, an experienced adventurer. But being here for the first time, he finds it all unbelievable. It's also the most daring decision he's ever made. The fifth contestant to appear is 41-year-old Kate. As a wildlife biologist, he's well aware of Tasmania's infamous harsh weather, given its proximity to Antarctica. Harsh weather is a certainty here, evident even in the tree roots in the lake. The sixth contestant, Peter. He was sent to a dead forest, and the environment there made him feel terrified. Next up is Rob, Michael, 43, Dwayne, 35, and Chris, 39. All contestants make their debut on the first day. The contestants are positioned far apart, so even shouting won't get any response. It's the first day. All the participants are separated by water, meaning they can't reach each other on foot. Chris starts exploring the terrain, which is all swampy and makes walking extremely difficult. He often goes diving or fishing and has gathered a lot of food in the wild. These experiences make him very confident here. It rains on average 250 days a year here. Chris realizes that without shelter, every minute is a huge challenge. The area is covered in slopes and uneven ground, with thick underbrush all around. Clearing it will take a lot of effort and resources. The environment above and below ground varies greatly. Chris intends to clear the branches and pitch a tent here. This spot is the best Chris could find, but the uneven ground makes sleeping tricky. While setting up the shelter, Chris noticed a large mass on the tree. Upon closer inspection, he realized it was a huge wasp nest. This is not a good sign. If it falls, it could be life-threatening, but Chris kept looking around. This is still the best spot, but he can't ignore the wasps. Should he move or not? 3 kilometers away, Rob is also choosing a spot for his shelter. The sight in front of him gives him the creeps. After walking a bit, Rob is parched. Feeling out of place upon arrival, he greets the area in the local language for comfort and respect. He aims to find inner comfort and respect nature. Meanwhile, Gina, 8 kilometers away, has a very nice view. The ground is solid. Gina is thoroughly enjoying the experience, walking barefoot on the moss to get close to nature. Gina's purpose here is not to conquer or defeat nature. The only way to be at ease in the wild is humility, according to Gina. She shows me the true meaning of strength. I hope she creates some amazing moments for us. Gina needs to set up her shelter before sunset, because the temperature will drop to 0 at night. 11 kilometers away, Baker has a great water source. This winter break is going to be very interesting. The sight in front of him makes him feel what true loneliness is. Besides personal gear, contestants also have to carry 70 kilograms of camera equipment. Walking on such uneven mountain paths is definitely a physical challenge. Fortunately, Baker found a great spot for a shelter. Just looking at it makes me drool. While working, Baker always feels like someone is watching him. He walked around and found a great spot for a toilet. The air here is thick with a pungent mix of excitement. Catching a lion would be the cherry on top. As he pondered this, a branch fell from above, making it clear that falling branches are a constant hazard. The environment is more dangerous than he thought. Baker headed to the lake for water, intending to boil it while setting up his shelter. He kept the fire starter handy. Baker placed it in his chest pocket, but who knows if the fire would have a milky scent. The awkward part came when he tried to start a fire. He noticed his fire starter was gone, a troubling sign. In the wild, fire is essential for boiling water, cooking, and staying warm. Mastering fire starting is crucial. Peter was exploring nearby. There was a large expanse of mudflats, a place to avoid during heavy rain. Peter's top priority. Peter decides to fish first, hoping for a fresh dinner. Then he recalls other crucial tasks like starting a fire and boiling water, making him hesitant. He hesitates once more. Meanwhile, Chris has a fire going and water boiling. Despite his somewhat clueless demeanor, he seems to be adapting well here. Chris has a water source nearby, and he looks very eager. He decides to take the risk and try the water. Even though he has a pot to boil water, he chooses to drink it raw. This risky move could really backfire on him later. Rob began constructing his shelter by setting a log between two trees and draping a waterproof tarp over it. The space inside is quite spacious. As a temporary shelter, it's pretty decent, and you can even see the lake from the front. Next, I'll collect some plants for a mattress to stay warmer at night. Rob's shelter setup is truly impressive. It's quite fascinating. I noticed some droppings near the shelter, likely from a small kangaroo. There must be food around. Gina finally had enough fun and remembered she needs to build a shelter. The wind picks up a lot in the afternoon here. Gina's the only one without a sleeping bag. Without a fire and solid shelter tonight, she could freeze like a popsicle. Is Gina seriously building her shelter here? It's right by the water and the wind is fierce. If it rains heavily, Gina's shelter is very likely to get flooded. She's using her clothes as survival materials. I can't help but wonder how many clothes she brought to burn. With the sun setting, Gina needs to get that fire going fast. Fire lets you boil water and stay warm. Shivering alone for warmth will quickly drain your energy. As night falls, Rob starts boiling water, but he notices that the water is full of foam. That's not a good sign. The temperature has dropped to 4 degrees, and he's feeling very thirsty. Even if the water was just boiled, he had to drink it. Over at Chris's camp, it started raining. He lay by the fire, watching. The wind intensifies outside. How can anyone sleep like this? Right now, all the contestants are on edge. Rainwater continues to drench the shelter. Gina is concerned about her firewood supply, especially without a sleeping bag in this cold. Gina is using her clothes as a blanket. I'm really curious about what she brought that made her give up a sleeping bag. In the dead of night, Baker hears crawling and strange noises outside, scaring him so much he can't sleep. He stays up all night, anxiously waiting for dawn, as giant rats, the size of iron pots, scurry outside. He's afraid they might call their relatives to carry him away. The second day arrives, and the morning is shrouded in mist. It looks like a terrifying fairyland. Rob's fire pit didn't collect water last night, but all the wood he gathered got soaked. He shivered through most of the night. By morning, the roof of his shelter had collected a lot of water. If he opens it up, the water is drinkable if it doesn't bring down the shelter. It's just day 2, and Rob's already looking at family photos. From my experience with Alone in the Wilderness, contestants who look at family photos usually don't last long. Photos are like secret signals in the wilderness survival game. Baker rises early to light a fire. Last night's ordeal left him feeling awful, nearly bringing him to tears before the fire was even lit. He also feels a bit unwell on the island and misses his family a lot. It's only the second day. Big guy, haven't you ever been away from home? Rob can't start a fire or stay warm because of the rain last night. He grabs the satellite phone. What's his plan? It's just day 2. Baker sits by the lake, reaching for the satellite phone. What's he planning? Is someone quitting on just the second day? Can't wait to see what happens next episode. Ever seen someone taking daily COVID tests while roughing it in the wild? And then, bam, a positive result. After the doc checked him, he had COVID-19. If it wasn't illegal, we'd have tossed him to the sharks. We had to take him back for quarantine. The new season of Alone in the Wilderness kicked off with 10 contestants braving the Australian wilderness. On day 2, Rob started his morning with a wild dog breakfast, which, for the uninitiated, means just drinking water. Everything here is soaking wet. It rained all night, and it feels freezing. Rob is already on the verge of giving up. Whenever he gets a chance, he looks at family photos and misses them, especially his cute little daughter who melts his heart. But thinking about not being able to be with her makes him feel terrible. He hasn't been here long, and he's already crying his eyes out. The next moment, he grabbed the satellite phone and called the show. Rob decided to quit, and it's only day 2. Rob quit because he missed his family, not because survival here is too hard, but he blamed it on the weather. The non-stop rain got him down. Leaving after just one night is a waste of a spot on the show. Meanwhile, Gina was sunbathing by the lake early in the morning. Despite the fear, she really enjoys being here. Luckily, Gina's spot gets plenty of sunlight. She's the happiest contestant so far. Before coming here, Gina gained 50 pounds, but the extra fat makes it hard for her to move around. Today, Gina is exploring the area around her shelter. She's looking for a long-term shelter spot. Australia's extreme weather often brings strong winds. Besides wild animals that might bite, even the trees seem out to get you. Rubber trees here can easily throw sticks at you. So finding the best shelter spot is crucial. Mick woke up to find his shoes filled with water. He drank the water right out of his shoes. Seriously, isn't that like drinking foot bath water? Mick's shelter is super basic, but I don't get why he's so relaxed. Doesn't he want to hurry up and build a proper shelter? Mick's got his own game plan, food first, shelter later. He doesn't even know how to build one. So he's not in a rush to improve his shelter. From what I see, he's not in a hurry to build a shelter or get food. I'm not bothered by his slow pace. I can just order takeout if I'm hungry, but he'll have to quit. Meanwhile, Baker woke up early with nothing to do. It rained all night, and his fire went out. Everything around him made him feel very uncomfortable. A tree next to his shelter was gnawed beyond recognition last night. This place terrifies Baker. He wants to move somewhere else and then think about hunting for food. Baker keeps looking around for a good spot to build a shelter. This clearing looks nice, but he feels a chill down his spine, like it's haunted. Scared, Baker ran out of there and even tripped. His temper flared up instantly. Back at his shelter, he failed to start a fire. No fire means no boiled water, and without that, survival is out the window. Might as well just go home. Staying here is just suffering. I'm speechless. These contestants are totally clueless. At the first sign of trouble, they want to run back to mommy. It's just day 2, and already 2 have bailed. I'm blown away by them. Jimmy's Deadwood area is so creepy it'd make the Grim Reaper weep. As the youngest contestant, Jimmy thought last night was pretty manageable. He got up, started a fire. He began hauling wood, but after a few minutes, he felt hungry. He decided to fish by the lake for some food. Jimmy grabbed his fishing gear and looked for a spot along the lake. The ground was slippery and full of deadwood. He slipped and fell, but eventually reached the lake, where he sat quietly, hoping to catch a big fish. Chris felt great after waking up. Looking at the deadwood swamp in front of him, he noticed an eerie silence. Bubbles popped up now and then, which Chris figured were from crayfish. He hurried back to his shelter to make fishing tools. It seems food is what excites them the most. Chris quickly prepared the bait and started fishing by the lake. In this kind of water, who knows if he'll catch anything. Peter woke up with a lot of mud on his face. Looks like he rolled out of his shelter while sleeping. He's also troubled by the rain. It rains 255 days out of the year here. Peter's clothes and other things were soaked. Do these contestants have any survival instincts at all? This is a terrible start. Peter has to rebuild his shelter. Gina's got a great setup, but she's acting a bit nuts. Seems like all the women on these shows are a bit off, but the unhinged ones usually know their stuff. Gina's already chosen a prime spot for her shelter and just needs to gather some poles to build it. She eyes the towering trees, planning her shelter. Clearly, Gina's aiming to set up a wilderness shelter. Gina keeps collecting wood. She seems to have a plan. She intends to build a long trapezoidal shelter. This type of shelter is simple to make and spacious, a pretty good choice. Mick's environment is also quite good. She goes to the shore to pick up some driftwood, which often has some bait inside. If she finds bait, she can grill fish. Sun Yu loves this kind of bait, but he still needs to gather more plankton to catch enough fish. The underwater environment here is very complex. Catching fish is actually a bit challenging. Mick plans to make a raft to fish further out in the water. Building a raft is definitely a big project, but to get some fish, Mick has no other choice. He arranges some long branches into a circle. As Mick works on the raft, crows won't stop cawing. He thinks eating them wouldn't be the worst idea. Peter is exploring near his shelter. He tries to set up traps to see if he can catch some protein. There are many small kangaroo tracks on the ground. Peter tries to catch a few to taste. He keeps scavenging in the jungle. I really don't know what he's doing. He seems like a headless chicken, not knowing what he's up to. Jimmy is doing a COVID test inside his shelter. Who would have thought? Even in the middle of nowhere, you can't escape a COVID test. While waiting, he takes a nap. When he wakes up and checks the flashlight, he sees 2 lines. Even in isolation, he still got COVID. When the doctor came to check him, he even wore goggles. After a thorough check, it turns out he really has COVID. The doctor is helpless too. Jimmy fled to the wilderness, but still couldn't escape the virus. I never would have guessed that by the second day, 3 contestants would have already quit. Night falls. It starts to drizzle again outside. Peter loses his flashlight. After rummaging through his backpack, he finally finds it. They really seem so unprofessional. What will they encounter next? Stay tuned for the next episode. After 3 days without food, Mick finally caught a fish and shouted with excitement, knowing it meant he could keep surviving. This was true wilderness survival. While others starved and ate grass, he could boil eel in plain water. Despite the urge to vomit, he forced himself to eat to survive and win the $3 million prize. On the 3rd day of alone in the wilderness, Mick woke up early, complaining about the miserable night. The rain made everything uncomfortable, and he drank water stored in his shoes after getting up, as they had collected a lot of rainwater. It's the first time I've seen a contestant drink foot water. No, really, we haven't had anything since we got here. It's going to be starvation. After 2 days of hunger, there wasn't much change in his body. Luckily, he had gained weight before coming here. Mick quickly patted his belly with his hands, and the wobbling was quite amusing. My 30 days of if I eat nothing in 30 days time, I probably end up looking like a locker. I got a 30-day buffer, like if I actually warble first my stomach, I'll ever say must make warb about that. Then he went to the shore to bathe, clearly clueless about what he was doing. After washing up, he ventured into the jungle to make a fishing rod. He cut down a straight branch, perfect for the job. I expected him to refine it, but he just tied the fishing line to one end. Guess I overestimated his DIY skills. With the rod ready, he needed bait. Usually, larvae hide under tree bark, and after a few chops, he found some. Ah, jackpot! That's a good find. Mick found a larva under the bark, full of protein. If he can catch these larvae every day, it's only a matter of time before he catches a big fish. Mick threaded the larva onto the hook as bait and started fishing. The surroundings looked pretty scary. If there aren't monsters in the water, there should be fish. Hopefully, he can catch something to eat. While waiting, Mick keeps gathering more larvae. The number of larvae he finds determines how often he can fish. He needs plenty to ensure he catches something to eat. While chopping a tree, he nearly chopped his leg off. The tree was a mess, and finding these bugs is tough. Meanwhile, Carter wakes up in the shelter with a goofy grin, seemingly enjoying himself. It's been 2 days, and he's just now starting to feel hungry. I really admire these contestants. Do they usually go days without eating at home? If it were me, I'd need 4 meals a day, and missing even one would be rough. Feeling extremely hungry, Kate searched the jungle for some food. It is my body slowing down. I love botany, and I love that I learned a lot about bush food, traditional foods. The wood fungus here are so cool. The environment is so different. She found some edible plants, and the roots of these plants are edible. The white part of the grass roots contains a lot of starch, and it tastes slightly sweet. If there's enough, it can be a meal. After breakfast, Kate also headed to the shore. She starts making fishing tools. Fishing is one of the quickest ways for them to get food. Kate digs up some worms to use as bait. Why can't Mick dig up worms? She wonders. To catch something the other part doesn't want it push myself? Don't fall in the water. I have no idea how hard it is to how I feel right about this world. After half an hour of waiting, no fish bites, so she moves to another spot to continue fishing. It seems that even with worms, fishing isn't that easy. As an ecology, someone is working hard to protect the environment. Don't see how I go with the hunger. I guess Chris was shouting loudly early in the morning. Each contestant is about 5 or 6 kilometers apart, so if he got a response, it must be a ghost. He keeps collecting edible food, dreaming of chicken legs and bread last night, but today he has to chew on grass. After breakfast, Chris started looking for some protein, hoping to catch 1 or 2 prey to eat while wandering through the jungle. Looking around in a hollow of a dead tree, he didn't even see a single bug. After searching for a long time, he couldn't find anything edible. There are mountains and water here, but none of the food Chris is looking for. He then goes to the creek to search, where there would normally be small crabs or fish, but for some reason, all the animals disappear wherever Chris goes. It seems that finding food this way is really difficult. Mysterious. Children's book Mad This Is Ish and Feelings. This is amazing. This is the best part about a lot of things here right now. Peter is also searching for food in the jungle. The jungle is very dense, but he hasn't seen a single bird. It feels like only plants are growing here. After 3 days of hunger, Peter is extremely famished. He finally finds some mushrooms on the ground, but he can't tell if they are poisonous, so he doesn't dare to pick and eat them. At this point, he has no idea what to do. At 11 a.m., Kate checks the fishing rod and surprisingly catches an eel weighing about a pound. Kate is the first contestant to successfully hunt something, and although the eel isn't big, it is enough for a hearty dinner today. The cleaned eel is only the size of a pot lid, but it's precious meat, so Kate puts it directly into a metal pot to make soup. Even though Kate doesn't particularly like eel, he has no choice but to eat it here. He's probably the happiest person right now. The eel is quickly devoured, but without seasoning, it tastes very fishy, and Kate almost throws up. This is probably the most disgusting thing he has ever eaten. Actually want to eat the you for eating you. I don't want to eat the you not to eat the you. It's going to be delicious. It's disgusting. Meanwhile, Dwayne is also out looking for food. He finds some bugs in a dead tree. I thought he would use them as bait for fishing, but to my surprise, Dwayne puts them directly into his mouth. But the bug's pungent smell burned his tongue. I can't understand why these foreigners are too picky to eat chicken heads and feet, yet they can eat bugs directly. Dwayne felt a burning sensation on his tongue and said the bugs tasted worse than crap. Honestly, I had no idea what he was trying to convey. He also found some berries by the shore. They were tiny, but better than nothing. Suddenly, it started pouring rain, and Dwayne noticed a hole in his tent. That's when he realized he needed to start building a shelter. Chris was in a similarly bad situation. He hadn't built a shelter or found any food. Bored of sitting around, he decided to weave a fishing net, thinking it might be easier than using a rod. Weaving a net is meticulous, so Chris was slow. He hadn't even started before he had already explained the theory 1,000 times. Let's get fishing, I'm bored of this. Mick starts collecting wood to build a shelter, but the fishing setup he arranged this morning hasn't caught anything. He suspects there might be no fish here, so he plans to make a raft to fish further out. Building a raft is a big project that requires a lot of materials and physical effort. Considering he's already been hungry for 3 days, this could really exhaust him. Every piece of wood for the raft needs to be smoothed out, or it could easily puncture the waterproof fabric. It looks like Mick is trying to build a canoe. Meanwhile, Chris has also finished making his fishing tools. He heads to the shore to fish, and as soon as he casts his line, he gets a bite. Chris excitedly reels in the fish at lightning speed. Ha, 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 he actually caught one. The feel of it is different. After 3 days of hunger, he finally succeeds in hunting. Chris shouts in excitement. The fish isn't big, but it's enough to feed him for a day. With this fish, Chris feels more confident about surviving here. He happily takes the fish back to his shelter. On the other hand, Peter still hasn't found anything to eat. He takes an axe and heads out into the wild. Out in the wild, everything was muddy, and one wrong step could send you sprawling. While everyone else was fishing, Peter was waiting for a miracle with his axe. Having found no food, he cursed all the way, probably using up a year's worth of swear words. He even took a nasty fall, and judging by his pained expression, it was a hard one. Watching Peter's approach, it seemed unlikely he'd last many episodes. Back at the shelter, he just started gathering his things. Such contestants are really wasting a spot. By the 3rd day, the contestants had already quit, and Peter was one of them. The contestants this season are pretty weak. With enough food, winning should be a breeze. What surprises await in the next episode? Can't wait for the update. The new season of Alone in the Wilderness has kicked off, with contestants doing everything they can to find food. What will become of them? By the 4th day, around 1 a.m., Gina is boiling water in her shelter. Her stomach pain wakes her, and she can't get back to sleep. She stirs the fire, lost in thought. At 38, she was pregnant but diagnosed with breast cancer and advised to terminate the pregnancy. Gina chose to give birth. When her child turned 3, she faced cancer again. In the end, she passed away, and at 1 in the morning, Gina cried her heart out. As a mother, the last thing she wanted was to see her child leave. By the time the sun rose, Gina had pulled herself together. Today is her daughter's birthday, and she loved walking barefoot on the ground. Although there is no vibrant scenery in front of her now, it might bring her some comfort. Mick woke up early and was observing the birds in the trees. Mick woke up early and noticed a lot of birds perched on a tree. He regretted not bringing his bow and arrow. Today, Mick will continue working on his raft. Only by completing the raft can he fish in deeper waters. He quickly built the structure of the raft, just big enough for one person to sit on. But he still needs some small branches to perfect it. In the jungle, he spots a large tree with scratches, likely from a big climbing animal. Mick plans to venture deeper to see what wildlife he can find. He's fearless when it comes to getting meat. He analyzes likely animal paths and sets up a camera to monitor the area. Who knows, he might capture something interesting in this untouched environment. Dwayne, on the other hand, hasn't caught any fish or built a shelter yet. It's hard to tell what he's planning. Today, he aims to start constructing a permanent shelter and chops down a lot of wood for it. He built a framework, seemingly aiming to construct a wooden cabin. While chopping wood, the axe nearly hit his leg. It was a close call. Dwayne's shelter construction is quite haphazard, and the wood isn't fixed in place. He only built half of it before realizing something was off. If the shelter collapses while he's inside, it could be fatal. Michael woke up to find a snail on his tent. Why there would be a snail in the jungle, I really can't figure out. After having a bowl of water for breakfast, Michael strapped on his backpack and ventured into the jungle to explore. He found a type of grass on the ground. The white part of its root is edible. Contestants who haven't caught any fish are eating this grass, and after days without food, even grass tastes good. The jungle paths are very complex, making it easy to get lost. Michael kept walking, probably unaware of how far he had gone. Fortunately, he had a compass, so as long as he followed the right direction, he could find his way back. Mick described the situation around his shelter, noting that it rains almost daily. After a week, he was getting familiar with the place and was preparing to build a raft. In his spare time, he also makes a fishing rod. He takes the rod to the shore to fish. With this rod, he can finally try lure fishing. Unfortunately, the weather doesn't cooperate, and it starts to rain heavily. Meanwhile, Michael is still crawling through the jungle. He has been crawling for hours. He walked here, but somehow he has to crawl back. Even with a compass, he keeps getting lost. If it gets dark before he finds his way, not even a miracle could save him. Luckily, he finally found the right path. Xiaoming almost didn't make it out of there. After a whole day of crawling in the jungle, Michael decided to rest early. On the 5th day, Mick went out early to check the camera he had set up the night before. Sure enough, it had captured footage of wildlife. This was good news for Mick, as he planned to set a trap. Kate sat by the shore early in the morning, staring blankly. The weather was getting colder, and since arriving here, he had only eaten one meal of fish. Berries and grass were his daily staples. These berries were very small, and even after picking them all day, they weren't enough to fill him up, but that's all Kate could eat. Dwayne finally started moving to a new place. He just needed to cover it with a waterproof cloth, and a shelter would be complete. Currently, Dwayne's shelter was the best, but for a fan of alone in the wilderness, Dwayne's shelter was only slightly better than a tent. It rains daily, limiting hunting opportunities. Luckily, Dwayne has a shelter, making him relatively comfortable despite having no food. When bored, contestants share home stories. Dwayne's family includes 5 members, a brother in prison, a sister with 15 kids, an alcoholic father, and a gambler mother, prompting his wilderness escape. Meanwhile, Gina acts oddly near her tent shelter. Although it's not great, it's not terrible either, so she hasn't built a new shelter. She just reinforced the old one a bit. This girl doesn't hunt, and I really don't know what she eats every day to stay alive. Gina is building a bed in her shelter, and it wasn't finished until evening. Lying on it is really comfortable. It's now the 6th day, and she wakes up early in the morning. Gina showed off her bed, and it must have been very comfortable to sleep on last night. Suddenly, she saw something catching fish in the water. It turned out to be a platypus. The ecosystem here is very primitive, so it's not surprising to see a platypus. Chris has been weaving his fishing net for 2 days now, and at this rate, he might bankrupt the show before he finishes. Chris went into the jungle and enjoyed watching some small animals come out and sacrifice themselves for their young. In his quest to find a possum, Chris fearlessly crawled into any hole, even a hollow log big enough for a person. Unafraid and ready for anything, he searched for half a day, but found no possum. He returned to the shelter to continue weaving his fishing net, then went fishing again, hoping for another catch like the day before. He set up for fishing rods, aiming to catch as many fish as possible, but after waiting all day, there was no action. Fishing proved harder than he thought. Meanwhile, Mick finished setting up his hunting trap net, hoping it would catch some prey. Mick went into the jungle to set up traps. He estimated the size and position where the net would fall and set up an automatic device in the right spot. If an animal touched the bait, it would trigger the mechanism, which was connected to 2 large logs for a quick drop. It took him a whole day to set up this trap. Mick did a final check to ensure everything was perfect before leaving. That night, Mick couldn't sleep in the shelter, staying alert for any noise from the trap, ready to check it immediately. Indeed, there was some activity at the trap. Mick couldn't wait any longer and rushed to check the trap, but found it empty. Reviewing the camera footage, he saw the prey had narrowly missed the net. By early morning on the 7th day, Dwayne's shelter began leaking due to heavy rain, making sleep impossible with the constant dripping. That morning, Chris returned to the shore to fish after an unsuccessful day before. Without catching fish, survival seemed bleak. Chris still hadn't built a shelter and was living in a tent. Inside his tent, Chris was trying to organize the ropes, but appeared very impatient due to his lack of success in hunting. He seems to have lost all patience and is questioning his purpose here. What surprises await us in the next episode? Stay tuned for the update.
Who'd have thought you'd spot long legs in the wild? Gina, a sassy 52-year-old, is flaunting her charm, lifting her clothes to show she's not wearing pants while sitting in her shelter. On the 8th day, Chris is by the shore early, sharing his recent struggles. He hasn't caught any food, and the isolation has doubled his loneliness, crushing his confidence. He's already thinking about quitting but is trying to hang on. Just as he's worrying about food, he notices his fishing line moving. He has 4 rods set up here. Chris picks up the rod, and the fish struggles fiercely in the water. Losing this hard-earned food would be a huge loss. Finally, Chris successfully catches a fish, bringing him immense hope for survival. He returns to the shelter with the fish, eager to eat it. The fish's belly is full of eggs. Chris eats it raw and then cooks the fish in a pot. He thoroughly enjoys this fish soup, licking every bone clean as he's been living meal to meal. The 52-year-old Gina also wakes up. Her charming legs are the sexiest thing in this wilderness. As expected, women can't be praised too much. Gina stands up and lifts her clothes to show me her legs, but we'll skip this part due to limited data. Today, Gina is indeed quite sassy in the wild. She's improving her shelter by adding a fence outside her tent to block the wind and rain. Next, she plans to build a door for the shelter. I couldn't quite understand her method at first, as she gathered a bunch of ropes and grass. Was she planning to weave a grass door? Turns out, she was. While others are building shelters or hunting, Dwayne is playing with wood because he already has a perfect shelter. Just one piece of wood. He could play with it forever. Dwayne's environment is probably the best, but he just doesn't fish. Although he's been looking for food, I don't understand what kind of food can be found this way. He hasn't eaten for 7 days, and despite being very hungry, he just plays. He finds a good fishing spot and decides to try fishing there. He first considered using a bottle as a float, but it was too big, so he used a button from his clothes instead. After crafting his fishing gear, he starts fishing. He could catch anything, wasting such a prime spot. Meanwhile, Chris, full from his meal, lounges by the shore sunbathing. He finds the place beautiful and ideal for swimming, though swimming here might mean becoming fish food, given the water's uneven deadwood and terrifying color. After eating, instead of saving energy for hunting, he wastes it stacking stones. Does he only think about food when he's starving? More interestingly, Gina says she weighed 96 kilograms when she arrived, but now she can't even button her pants. Eating grass every day, she's gained quite a bit of weight. Gina keeps collecting grass leaves around the shelter. Of course, these leaves aren't for eating but for weaving the grass door. And I'm going to finish this Nagalai tasty yummy wong proper wong for tonight, so that tonight I'm going to be warm. She works from morning till night, finally finishing the grass door, which is a roll-up type. She talks about her experiences here in the shelter. I think the universe bends its attention and holds its breath whenever humans make a stand that my culture has largely forgotten. I feel such kinship with a way of living because I know it's possible. So that's my wife. That's why I am me, really. On the 9th day, Mick wakes up by the shore, acting a bit crazy. He's been busy lately, with fishing rods, hunting traps, and a raft. Whenever he has time, he explores the jungle, but he never finds anything. This is where he sets his traps. Mick reviews the footage from last night. Although animals passed by, they didn't trigger the traps, possibly because the area is too open. Mick plans to guide the animals into the traps by placing a row of branches on the ground. Hopefully, this will help him catch some food. It rains often here, and Mick's fire pit is outside the shelter. He plans to improve the shelter to protect the fire. The jungle is full of large trees, and their bark can be very useful. It means that it's too joy. This place is super wet, and the bark can't be sliced well after. Mick takes a piece of bark from a tree, which can be used as a door or a rain cover. The bark is very heavy, and carrying it back to the shelter is exhausting. Dwayne continues to search for food as usual, but he always returns empty-handed. I really admire these contestants. Besides finding plants, what else can they find? I know they're not good at this. Dwayne goes to the shore to fish and finally catches a fish after 8 days without food. This fish practically saves his life. Thank you. Next, we see Michael, who I don't know what he's doing. He hasn't appeared in several seasons. He builds a shelter in the jungle with only one wall, but it's quite good. He keeps improving this wall. It's like a shelter with just one wall. All 9 days of footage are focused on this wall. After returning to the shelter, he starts a fire to cook the fish. Despite having a fire starter, he couldn't get a fire going, so he ate the fish raw. He's the first contestant I've seen who can't start a fire and eats raw food. Michael is cleaning his hat at night, and it turns out there are maggots in it. My goodness, how long has it been since this contestant took a bath? If there are maggots in his hat, his hair can't be much better. On the 10th day, Michael plans to take a bath. He makes a small waterproof bath bag, intending to take a hot bath. He heats stones until they're red hot, then fills the bag with water and puts the hot stones in to heat the water. Next, it's bath time, with just a little water. Guess how he takes a bath? Anyway, he finishes in less than a minute. Kate picks some tree leaves from the jungle, which will be very useful. The leaves of the mimosa tree in the jungle are actually useful. He rubs the leaves by the shore, creating a lot of foam. These leaves can be used to make soap. After washing his hands, he looks for bugs in the jungle. There might be beetle larvae under the deadwood bark. The environment here is very primitive, with mushrooms on the ground releasing spores, but there seem to be very few animals around while working. His hand gets a minor injury, and these leaves can treat minor wounds. I don't quite understand this scene. Minor injuries don't need treatment, and severe injuries can't be treated. In short, he's wasting time. Dwayne is sunbathing, and the soy sauce is sun-dried for 360 days. Bored, he tattoos his axe with fish and turtles, among other things. He doesn't want to do anything, just daydream. I suspect he's the show's prearranged champion, knowing that eating fewer meals isn't important. He can just call it a day when it's time. Before clocking out, he even goes swimming. Dwayne, despite building a good shelter, still faces the fate of quitting. Other contestants are still living in tents, but his wooden shelter is about to be dismantled. What surprises will they bring us in the next episode? Looking forward to the next update. By the 10th day, Mick starts his day playing golf. Is this a survival show or a wilderness vacation? Last night, he worked and initially, it seems manageable, though it requires great balance. And have principles. Just because it's a woman doesn't mean they'll accept it. If you really like the guys in my comments section, please show enough sincerity. We can overlook age and looks, but we can't ignore genuine intentions. I need to eat something today. That's what I'm doing today. Eat something. After being soaked for hours, Mick finally stands up. Finally, he stood up, completely unprepared for how quickly he sank. Days of work on the raft were all for nothing. Chris ate a fish and spent 2 days doing nothing. He promised to weave a fishing net but made no progress. Whenever he had free time, he went into the jungle to look for food, but he never found anything. Every time he saw a hole or a crevice, he got excited. Here, he found a small puddle, so shallow you could see the bottom, and he decided to fish there. I really couldn't understand why he would do that. It was like Chris's head was being rubbed into the ground by this puddle, probably due to his personality. He liked quiet places, so he chose to fish in a puddle with no fish. Chris spent half the day wandering the jungle, only to return to the shelter empty-handed and dazed. Suddenly, he heard a plane overhead and got excited. It had been ages since he'd seen any sign of modern life, probably because he hadn't been home in so long. Overwhelmed, he started crying, feeling like he missed a rescue chance. It's only selling fake wine would be a waste of his talent. A plane flying overhead left Chris deeply unsettled. His mind was racing with countless thoughts, and he couldn't stop talking to himself. The fishing rod he had left in the water remained still, but he didn't care whether there was any bait left. All he could think about was that plane and whether it was coming to check on him. Kate, who was also on the shore, seemed equally lost, perhaps unsure of what noises around the shelter, and checked it out, thinking it might be small animals digging. She followed the trail and found some fresh animal droppings, which looked quite appetizing. In no time, she was back by the shore fishing, talking about her life. She could talk for hours alone. It's a waste she didn't become a live streamer selling fake alcohol. I love learning about it and understanding it. This is a longer game than just the survival experience. This is a law. I'm actually really relieved that I found my own path and walked it well while being here. I don't want to be hunting animals and killing them. That's how I interact with nature, and I want to stay true to myself. As long as I'm okay with that, I'm really okay with that. Yeah, I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Meanwhile, Gina is at it again. Seems like she's gotten used to not wearing pants. Wouldn't sitting on the ground without pants make you itchy? Gina kneels on the ground doing chores without pants, which shows some dedication, but not much. A bit of salt to the pot, and it's a delicious vegetable soup. Each contestant picked a few pounds of salt, enough to last them. It's been days, and I still can't understand how they survive on grass for so long. After eating, Gina sits in the sun and suddenly feels like throwing up. It seems like she's eaten too much grass, and now she's experiencing morning sickness. As night falls, Kate is out exploring. She's looking for nearby prey. The glowing eyes in the trees are the eyes of the prey. She indeed finds several animals in the trees. This method of finding prey is really eye-opening. Kate's goal isn't to hunt, but to know who her neighbors are. Sometimes, I really can't understand these odd behaviors. Back at the shelter, she just stares blankly. I have to hand it to this guy. After hearing possums last night, he decides to make traps to hunt them today. He plans to build... He sets up a one-way door trap but doesn't finish it before sitting down to drink some water. He ends up sitting there for most of the moved the raft into the water and cautiously got on. If it's cast his fishing line into the water. He keeps paddling the raft, but no fish are biting. Isn't it better to fish from the shore? It's a pity. Mick seems to have miscalculated. He continues to paddle and explore the water, spotting an island. Mick heads to the island, thinking it might be a better spot for fishing. He looks around the island but finds no signs of prey, just about have caught anything. Just as he was about to leave, he noticed the fishing line moving. Realizing that boating was more tiring than fishing, he decided to change his strategy and fish from the shore in the evening. While everyone else was starving and eating grass, this girl managed to catch a fish. She put the fish enough to make anyone's mouth water. Imagine how it must have tasted. On the 12th day, Chris was fetching water by the shore, imagining a pot of egg soup. After drinking it in his mind, he started acting crazy and called the show's producers to quit the competition. It was quite sudden. So far, Chris has caught the most fish, even though it's only 2, but that's still more than the others. His shelter is still just a tent, which suggests he wasn't planning to stay long. His plan to weave a fishing net hasn't progressed at all. It seems like he's just camping here. Apart from starving, he hasn't shown any survival skills. On the 13th day, Mick, who has made the most things, still has mediocre hunting skills. If he could get some food. Kangaroo had passed by but didn't trigger the trap. Seeing this was really frustrating. Mick could only laugh bitterly at his failure to catch anything. Kate, on the other hand, rebuilt her shelter and made a small wooden bed with dry grass on top for comfort. She also stored a lot of firewood for the night. She had only caught 1 eel so far and was mostly eating whatever she could find or going hungry. She decided to dig for worms to use as bait and found quite a few. These worms are a great source of protein, not just for eating but also for fishing. Mick had another fruitless day and returned to his shelter looking very hungry and tired. But he never stopped trying to get food. His traps hadn't caught anything, so he decided to test them himself. Mick went back to the traps and tested them with his backpack, confirming they worked. This made him even more puzzled about why they weren't catching anything. On the 14th day, Michael was fixing his belt in the morning. Why do they all like to go to the shore in the morning? It's usually not a simple reason. Sure enough, he started acting crazy after a while. After his episode, he went into the jungle. On the 11th day, he had set up a hunting trap but only made an automatic door. Today, he planned to improve the trap. If he had finished it earlier, he might have had meat by now. The trap looked sturdy, but if the prey struggled hard, it might break free since the sticks weren't firmly planted. But it was better than nothing. After finishing, he added a door to the trap, hoping it would catch something. But I think the success rate will be very low without bait. On the 15th day, it started raining lightly in the morning. Kate was fishing by the shore, as fishing was her only way to get protein. But the fish here were hard to catch. Just as she was feeling down, her fishing line moved. Even if she didn't catch anything, the excitement was enough to keep her and the entire fishing community awake all night. It looked like another eel, her second one. Why do others catch trout while eels always come to Kate? Can anyone explain this? This eel weighed about a pound, enough for a hearty meal. Kate cleaned the eel by the shore, using some ash to handle its slippery skin. Foreigners peel eels before eating, but the skin is the fattiest part and tastes great when cooked. Kate fried the eel on a pot lid, which was simpler than grilling. Eel soup is too fishy, frying or grilling tastes better. This rare protein meal was delicious. Even better than the last one. But the greasiness made her feel nauseous. Suddenly, the show's boat appeared, signaling that another contestant might be quitting. The boat headed towards Mick. It turned out they were just doing a health check, not that Mick was quitting. It would have been a shame if he did, given all his efforts. Mick had lost 11% of his body weight and needed to eat more. That night, Mick sat in his shelter, listening for any sounds from his traps. If they caught something, he could rush over immediately. On the 16th day, Mick went to check his traps in the morning. He didn't have high hopes, just doing a routine check, probably because he had been disappointed too many times. When he reached the traps, he found one had been triggered. Although it hadn't caught anything, he was excited. He reviewed the footage and saw an animal had passed by but didn't know what it was. It had come close to triggering the trap, which was a bit disappointing. Gina's shelter looked like a giant bird's nest, and she saw a platypus foraging in the water in the morning. But I don't understand why Gina hasn't been fishing. Eating grass every day is no fun. Gina went out to find food, determined to stay for 90 days, so she needed protein. She wandered aimlessly in the jungle, hoping to find food. She found a tree with an edible heart but wondered if it was safe to eat. Gina collected a large piece of the tree heart, took it back to her shelter, and chopped it up with an axe before boiling it in a pot. Would you dare eat this black concoction? Gina seemed to enjoy it. On the 18th day, Michael was improving the automatic door on his trap. The problem wasn't just the door, it might also be the lack of bait. Without catching any animals, Michael felt demotivated. His fishing net hadn't progressed either, making the contestants seem lazy. They lacked initiative, often giving up halfway, doing only one thing a day, and spending the rest of the time sunbathing. On the 20th day, Gina checked the fishing trap she set up last night. The bait was still there, proving there were few fish in the water. Fishing here was a matter of luck. While waiting, Gina saw a large bird in the sky, which excited her. Soon, her fishing rod moved, and she caught a small trout. Though small, it was equivalent to 20 days of protein for Gina. This was her first real food in 20 days. She fried the fish in a pot, adding some salt, making it a top-tier wilderness delicacy. Some were happy, some were sad. Mick hadn't caught a fish in 20 days. Despite setting up many fishing hooks, none had caught anything. His luck was terrible. He tried pulling one line and found a fish on it. Mick had caught an eel but struggled to pull it out of the water. Why not just pull it up and throw it on the shore? Mick took out a knife, but I couldn't understand what he was trying to do. Was it so hard to just pull it up? In the end, the eel escaped. A fool. At least I wasn't the one starving. Catch you in the nest. He finds fish freedom just by digging up worms. His fishing rod catches a fish daily, and he makes tasty smoked fish. Some even eat worms themselves. On day 21 of Alone in the Wilderness, 4 contestants remain. Early in the morning, Kate went to the shore acting a bit wild. The environment is now familiar to him, and with today's good weather, he decided to take a bath. These girls really aren't afraid of the water. Even though it was pitch black, she still dared to swim. Kate was so thrilled in the water, she screamed like a pig being scalded. Oh my god. Today's bath made her feel so thrilled that she couldn't stop laughing even after returning to the shelter. I'm just curious, doesn't she need to eat? How come she has no hunting plans at all? She's been here for so long and is still living in a tent. I really don't get it. Is he here for a vacation or survival? Mick, on the other hand, is always upgrading his shelter, but without food, he lacks the drive to work. If he keeps this up, he'll exhaust himself. Mick takes his raft out again, aiming to fish in deeper waters. He sets the hook and starts paddling, like lure fishing. A fish bites quickly, and Mick nervously reels it in, but after a long time, there's still no sign of the fish. Meanwhile, Gina has been digging since morning, pulling up moss from the ground. She's looking for bait to fish. Gina collects a bunch of worms and then heads back to her shelter. What is she up to? She puts a worm directly on a pan to fry it. I can't believe this woman. I thought she was digging worms to fish, but she's fishing for herself. She even says worms taste good. Wouldn't it be better to use them for fishing? She gets hooked on the taste and roasts the rest to eat. Sometimes, I really can't understand the contestants' actions. Michael, on the other hand, is working on his fishing net. These contestants are mostly amateurs, taking all day to fix a simple net. The grass wasn't ready, so he went to check the traps. The traps were triggered, but they caught nothing. The camera playback showed some animals wandering nearby, but catching them is tough. Michael went to the shore and found a lot of water plants, which are rich in vitamin C. He decided to collect some to cook. Instead of catching anything, he insists on eating grass. Today's lunch is a pot of boiled grass. He should learn from Gina and dig worms to fish for himself. At least worms are protein. After eating some grass, he felt even hungrier. He desperately needs protein, that's for sure. After sitting for hours, it was now day 22. Early in the morning, Kate was irritated by loud bird calls outside her shelter. She tied a knot on a rope daily to track her days there. After getting up, she would stare at the sky by the shore, unsure of what to do. How could she endure hunger like this? It seemed her daily task was just talking to herself by the shore. Come on, Kate, do something useful. If this keeps up, I'll think the show is fake. Meanwhile, Gina caught a fish early in the morning. It had been 3 days since she last ate fish. He vowed to catch at least one fish every day. Gina, grateful to have something in her stomach, sat by the shore drinking water. While daydreaming, she noticed a platypus foraging, her only friend here, providing some entertainment. Gina then dealt with the fish she caught. Though small, it was enough protein to meet her daily needs. Eating to her fill wasn't the goal, having something to eat was. Meanwhile, Kate was just drinking water. Don't underestimate this small basin of water. For us, it's essential. At most, it was just a bit of urine, but for Kate, drinking it was like having a meal for the day. After drinking the water, I thought he would get to work, but instead, he went to the shore to call and quit the competition. I was really impressed. Although he caught some fish earlier, I guess he just wanted to experience it. Quitting halfway through without any prize money. Why did he bother starving here for so long? If he wanted to lose weight, then I have nothing to say. On day 23, there are still 3 contestants left. Mick is looking for fishing bait, rummaging through a whole pile of dead wood but finding nothing. After a while, he seemed unable to fish. Mick kept searching with his feet and finally found a worm, and then more under a pile of grass. It looks like there's hope for fishing today. Mick kept searching and was surprised to find so many worms here, proving that this land isn't completely barren. Gina hadn't started cooking the fish she caught this morning. She nibbled on some fish skin, planning to save the rest for breakfast. Why not eat well tonight, sleep soundly, and fish again tomorrow? Mick, meanwhile, set up his hook to fish at night, hoping for better luck. Soon, there was movement on the line. Mick checked and saw the rod being pulled hard. What was he waiting for? Just reel it in and get the fish. What's wrong with the fish? Why is he taking off his pants in the middle of the night? He actually plans to wade into the water with a net to catch the fish. What a genius. Luckily, he catches an eel. Finally, some good fortune for this guy. After days without food, this eel makes him very happy. Tonight's snack is sorted. Mick prepares the eel, getting a big chunk of meat, and fries it in a pan. This grilled eel snack is delicious, and after finishing this big pot of eel meat, he can probably slack off for a few days. That's fatty but pork belly. With that, the maid just ate the fact what an amazing fish. Wow, this has to be the best day. On day 24, Michael went to the shore early in the morning to pick grass to eat. This guy eats grass almost every day. If he keeps this up, he might soon quit the competition. Spending more time fishing would be better than eating grass here, right? After breakfast, he decided to find a good fishing spot. The path was very difficult, and being already hungry, he kept exhausting his energy. But for that $250,000 prize, he has to give it his all to get food. Michael finds a place with lots of animal tracks and a beautiful river bend. He tries fishing here, thinking it's the perfect spot. His bait is actually water plants. If he catches a fish, he estimates it could last him 2 to 4 days, but he's never caught a fish before, so who knows where he's getting these numbers from. Meanwhile, Gina wakes up early and checks her fishing setup by the shore. She sees some movement in the water and thinks it's a platypus searching for food. When she pulls the line, she actually catches a fish. The fish Gina catches today is much bigger than yesterday's. She finds her method of sticking the rod in the ground and waiting to be quite effective. This consistent success excites her. After starving earlier, she's now constantly eating meat, boosting her chances of winning. So happy, she might as well take a bath to cheer up the guys. Mick is also using this method. He tugs the line, thinking it's snagged, but he's caught an eel. This is fantastic. He had eel for a late night snack and now for breakfast. Mick and Gina are neck and neck. Mick plans to smoke the eel. He strips the bark from the wood, crafts a cylindrical smoker, and hangs it over the fire with the fish inside. I must say, it's a clever idea. Meanwhile, Michael is aimlessly wandering. The spot he visited this morning is fishless. He doesn't even bother to find bait. How does he expect to catch anything? I just don't get these people. Any rural kid could catch plenty of fish here, but these so-called survivalists are always starving. Mick, now well-fed, is really missing his family. He knows winning the championship will make reuniting with them more meaningful. He plans to savor the smoked eel slowly. He plans to save the smoked eel and eat it slowly. Gina is also having a great time, singing by the fire at night. It seems like well-fed contestants all share one trait. They think about everything except food. Mick's eel has been smoking for several hours now, and it looks like it's done. He takes a bite and it's absolutely delicious. The smoked color is beautiful, and the preparation is perfect. Mick can't stop eating it. Looks like it's cooked perfectly to me. Yes, that is magical. Oh yeah, that's unreal. It's cooked perfectly. You have to see this color, it's just amazing. It's just like Gracie and Fatty. What other surprises will they bring us next? Stay tuned for the next video update. Living in the wild can actually be pretty cozy. Each day, the fishing rod catches a fish on its own, which I then grill right on the iron pan. After eating, I head to the shore and mess around to pass the time. It's day 26, and 3 contestants remain. Mick wonders how many contestants are still in the game, thinking someone might leave soon. He believes he's almost at the finish line. He still needs to keep looking for food. Only with enough food can he ensure he stays here longer. While checking the traps, Mick struggles to pull the fishing line, but it tugs back. He figures a fish is caught and stuck at the bottom. Mick grabs a net, ready to dive in and catch the fish. The bottom is cluttered with wood. It could be fish or monsters down there. The weather is freezing now. The last contestant who stripped a bathe has already left. Mick is now in the same boat. The freezing water makes him squeal. His fish hook is snagged, so he has to dive in to retrieve it. The water here is red. Anyone with a guilty conscience wouldn't dare dive in. Oh no. It's too spicy. I'll get used to it. I'll stop. I need this big fish. This could be a big one. If I catch it, it'll taste even better. I hope this line is straight. I'll slowly go down a kilometer. Gina's been going wild chopping wood but has eaten fish for 2 days straight, getting her strength back. If Gina doesn't act wild to burn off energy, she might lose it. At the shelter, she mentioned she's eaten 6 fish in 4 days. Today's routine includes the fish dance. Gina heads to the shore to set bait. With her single fishing rod, she can pretty much guarantee a daily catch. Gina sees the water rising, but it doesn't impact her fishing. As long as she has bait, she's not worried about catching fish. However, the rising tide makes fishing more difficult. The traps she set up earlier are now submerged. She's cleaning up the dead wood on the muddy shore. It's unclear why she's doing this. I thought she was building a wooden path. Turns out she was just using brute force and got all muddy. After waiting forever, the chance finally came. Covered in dirt, she really needed a bath. How could she sleep like that? Yet, she just kept tending the fire, not planning to wash up. Mick struggled for over 10 minutes at the water, unable to free the fishhook tangled in underwater debris. He couldn't get the hook out because of all the dead branches underwater, so Mick decided to fish elsewhere. Michael is struggling the most. He can't catch any fish or find bait, so he spends his days idling. On the 24th day, he explored eastward. Michael found the area beautiful and saw many animal tracks. If he could make good use of it, he might find some meat there. Today, he plans to move there. Michael even thinks it could be a fishing paradise. For someone who hasn't caught a single fish to say that, it's like a kid saying they want to be a scientist. Michael gathered his fishing gear and took apart his hunting traps. I don't get why he wasted energy on that. He went back to the shelter to pack up. This move will drain his energy and he'll need to build a new shelter. If Michael doesn't catch fish after moving, he'll soon be too hungry to go on. He lugged a suitcase weighing dozens of pounds, hiking through the jungle. The effort needed for this trip alone would take 10 bowls of rice to recover. The journey was incredibly tough. Michael arrived with his suitcase, and though it was only 1.2 kilometers, the path was too tough. He still needed to fetch more stuff. The suitcase was moved, but the new shelter wasn't even begun. Tonight, he has to stay at the old shelter again. Meanwhile, Gina has nothing much to do each day. Essentially just waiting for nightfall. When it rained, Gina checked her fishing traps by the shore. Sure enough, she caught another fish. Gina's fishing spot is amazing. The fish was quite big. Enough for a nice midnight snack. Although she could eat it now, Gina chose to save it for tomorrow, so she could stretch her food supply for 2 more days. It's now the 27th day. Mick sat at the shelter's entrance, pondering how poor his fishing spot was. So, he decided to take the kayak out today. He decided to fish elsewhere, meaning he now has to fish all day. Catching fish daily is his only way to survive. He can only keep going here, but the weather isn't great right now. The wind has picked up, and the raft is very unstable in the water. If he heads out now, the raft might tip over. After an hour of waiting, the weather hasn't worsened. It's time to gear up for fishing. Mick's raft reaches deeper waters. He casts his fishing rod in an open area and continues paddling. Even though this way of fishing is tiring, it's better than just sitting in the shelter hoping for a miracle. Mick reached a small island in the river, ready to try his luck there. Michael's still in bed, wrapped in his fur. He's been starving and hasn't shown any survival skills, but he insists on staying. I can't figure out why he's staying put while starving. Today, Michael will keep moving his stuff to a new spot. Once he's packed, he'll head out again. Gina's shelter is the best at the moment. She's thrilled today because she managed to save the fish last night despite her hunger. She saved the fish for today and grilled it on an iron pan. Although the fish isn't very big, it was enough for her to have a hearty breakfast. But why do they love grilled fish so much? Wouldn't fish soup be more filling? How about adding mushrooms and wild vegetables? That would be more filling, right? Gina eats a fish in just a few bites. This isn't nearly enough food. Mick keeps looking around, planning to fish here. The river is very shallow. You can see right away if there are any fish. Why is he wasting time here? Soon, it starts to rain. She has to get back to the shelter. Who knows how long this rain will last? If it gets heavier, she won't be able to return. This trip was a complete waste of time. Didn't catch anything and got soaked in the rain. Mick's fishing luck isn't great. Not catching fish is fine, at least I didn't capsize. Back at the shelter, she couldn't wait to lie down and rest. Since it's raining, there's nothing to do. Sleeping all day means you won't sleep at night. If it were Gina, she would have started night fishing ages ago. It's the 28th day now, and Gina seems really down, probably missing her family. She's been saying how much she misses her daughter. Even after all this time, she still cries whenever she thinks of her. He spent the entire day thinking about his wife and daughter, and the more he thought, the more he cried. I keep telling myself it's not too lonely here, but it really is. Michael's been on the move for 2 days now. The path is super muddy and tough to walk. It's not far, but it's tiring. At least he moved all his stuff. The environment here looks quite different. I hope Michael can catch some fish here. He still needs to find a good spot to build a shelter. This area of the jungle is more open, so Michael set up his tent here while arranging the trees. What a stroke of bad luck. Luckily, it was just some scrapes. It hurts, but it's not a big deal. Michael pitched his tent, giving him shelter from the wind and rain. Meanwhile, Mick, who had been lounging around all day, finally saw some action on his fishing device. It was just a small fish, but Mick struggled for ages by the shore to get it out. If it got away, he might have cried. Luckily, he eventually caught the fish. Fixing the fishing device seems crucial for hunting. He usually gets food this way. The fish aren't very big, but it's enough for Mick's supper tonight. This fish will sustain Mick for 2 more days. He made a pot of fish soup, enjoying fresh fish for the first time. Eating the fish and drinking the soup really fills you up. After a hearty meal, today ended up being a good day. It's now day 29. It's raining again, so Michael plans to stay in the shelter all day to save his energy. Only then can he search for food. Michael likely figured this out after 30 days of hunger. Sleeping helps conserve energy. Saving energy helps in finding food. So, sleeping means finding food. No sensible person would think this way. He spent a lot of energy moving here to fish better, but after arriving, he still sleeps every day. Eventually, he couldn't hold it in anymore and started crying. It's a good day to be laying in bed for the whole day, finding food, day by day, by day, by day, by day, by day. 5 weeks, really, isn't it? I miss you guys so much. If it doesn't pan out, head home early. Making it 29 days is impressive. Can't wait to see what surprises are next. Can't wait for the next video. How wild can a girl get living alone in the wilderness? Chewing on raw bones? You wouldn't believe how she caught this prey. It got up to pee in the night and she accidentally killed it with her urine. It's the 30th day and 3 contestants remain. Michael woke up to find frost forming. The temperature seemed to have dropped significantly overnight, probably by 10 degrees. Frost had formed on the dead wood and the fog was thick. Today, Michael went out 3 times. For the past 2 days, he had been moving to a new location, finally settling in. He thought he could live comfortably here, but after 30 days of lounging in his shelter, he still hadn't successfully hunted anything. When the sun came out, he decided to make a fishing rod. Michael, incredibly, just put the line on and started fishing. My goodness, where did he get that confidence? Did his fishing line have a hook? Or did his fishing line have bait? He was trying to catch eels in a shallow puddle. I was really impressed by his determination. With that level of intelligence, he must have been using his brain as bait. In the end, he didn't catch any fish and returned to the shelter disappointed. He regretted moving here because he still hadn't caught any fish. Today was the contestants' medical checkup. Mick was very nervous, even though he had recently eaten some fish. If his health didn't meet the standards, he would be forced to quit. Fortunately, apart from being thin, he was fine. Aside from that, there were no major issues. Gina, despite losing 30 pounds, was in good shape. Michael, though hungry for 30 days, had normal hands, feet, and blood pressure. The doctor advised him to eat more. After the doctor left, Michael confessed he drank a lot of water to increase his weight, hoping the doctor would send him home. He was ready to go, but when the doctor didn't send him home, he felt sad. Mick also thought the doctor would tell him to quit, but the doctor said he was doing fine and should try to eat more. There are no mirrors in the wilderness, so Mick can only check his condition through the video recordings. He has lost a lot of weight and his stomach is wrinkled. After looking at himself, he said he felt normal. Mick plans to continue fishing for eels tonight, which requires bait. Mick went back to the grass to look for worms. A few days ago, he found plenty of worms there, but today he couldn't find any. Without bait, he can't fish, so he has to spend a lot of time searching for worms, but he hasn't had much luck all day. If he can't find bait, his chances of winning decrease. As for Michael, I don't know what he's doing. Is he just fishing like this? After returning to the shelter and seeing his family's photos, he couldn't hold back anymore. Michael stood by the shore, thinking, and finally decided to quit the competition and return to his family. I'm a mystery, can't hold my vice, and I'm ready to go home now. I've got a beautiful family, and I've just been away from them for too long. Didn't you miss them too much? I want to be part of their lives again. Michael's decision to quit was inevitable. He had been starving since day 1, and after 30 days, he still hadn't caught a single fish. Maybe he never knew how to fish or what bait to use. With Michael out, only 2 contestants remain. It's now day 31, and Gina checks her fishing traps every morning. She hasn't had any luck in the past couple of days, but as a woman, she seems to handle hunger better than Mick. Today, Gina built a new door for her shelter, not because it was necessary, but just to keep herself busy. Gina is very determined to win, despite everything. Although he couldn't catch any fish, he managed to find plenty of wild vegetables to make soup. Today, he cooked a pot of fish scraps that had already started to ferment, but he ate it with gusto to survive. On day 32, Mick hadn't had much luck recently. He was still hungry, but he had to keep going for the big prize money. Besides fishing, Mick checked his traps daily. Every night, small animals would appear, and he even considered hunting them with a stick. Based on the animals' movement patterns, he planned to rearrange his traps since fishing wasn't working out. He decided to focus his hunting efforts on this prey and planned to weave a new net. Suddenly, the wind picked up, and the ropes he had painstakingly made were blown into a tangled mess. Mick had to take them back to his shelter to fix them. First, he had to straighten each line, which was a huge task and took a lot of time. Soon, it was the 35th day. Mick appeared with a large net, having spent 2 consecutive nights weaving it. He set up new hunting traps in the jungle, covering a larger area this time. If the prey triggered the switch, there was a high chance of catching it. Looking at Mick's trap, I felt there was a good chance of catching prey. If he could catch something, it would at least sustain him for another 10 days. Setting up the trap had him cursing because it was so difficult to get it right. Fortunately, he managed to set it up successfully in the end. Gina's situation was also very dire at the moment. Now, it was a matter of who would get food first, her or Mick. In the middle of the night, Gina suddenly had to pee urgently and had no choice but to go outside. While peeing, she accidentally caught a small kangaroo. I was truly amazed. I've seen countless hunting methods, but never anyone catching prey while peeing at night. Gina's luck was incredible. She got some protein, and if Mick knew, he'd probably quit out of frustration. That night, Gina processed the kangaroo in the shelter, removing its innards and skin. The little kangaroo had enough meat to last her 20 days, and she could even have a feast in the final round. It was like winning the lottery. That night, Gina happily roasted the liver for a midnight snack. She was overjoyed. On the 36th day, Gina sat by the shore, basking in the sun. Right now, Gina's got it made. She still has a stash of meat in the shelter that she hasn't even touched. If she manages to eat all of it, she could win the whole competition. Gina cut the meat into small pieces and made jerky out of what she couldn't eat. If she eats a few pieces each day, it could last her a month. Gina's living the good life. Meanwhile, on the 38th day, Mick hadn't had meat in ages. If he doesn't get any results soon, he'll have to quit the competition. Mick checks his traps and finds that one has been triggered, but there's no catch. He replays the footage and sees that the prey wandered into the shelter, but ran off the moment it touched the rope. It's such a shame. He was so close to catching it. Another day with no results. In the middle of the night, Mick takes out a photo of his family. It's the first time he's looked at it, but photos have a magical way of making people want to quit. Let's hope Mick doesn't get defeated by the photo. It's now the 39th day. Gina is almost eating roasted meat every day. She's dealing with the leftover meat and big bones from her catch. If it were me, I'd make a soup out of it. But Gina, the crazy one, just gnaws on it directly. Can you even eat it like that? Why doesn't she make soup? It's now day 41, and Mick is sitting in his shelter, staring blankly as it pours outside. His fishing and hunting traps have yielded nothing. He's done everything he can to get food. Unfortunately, Mick had no luck in the final stages. Just one more fish could have sustained him for days. While working on his old traps, he found a worm, the best bait for fishing. This discovery gave him a glimmer of hope. Mick continued searching for more worms, seeing them as his last chance. With renewed hope, he decided to try fishing again. Whether he catches anything or not, this is his last shot. On day 42, Gina still had plenty of smoked meat. She even made a small rug from kangaroo skin, boosting her chances of winning to nearly 90%. If Mick doesn't catch any prey, Gina is almost certainly the champion. This season might see another female winner. After eating her fill, Gina started feeling emotional and suddenly missed her family. She cried as she thought about them, not knowing how many contestants were left. Would Gina be defeated by her homesickness? On day 48, Mick, who hadn't had any success for a long time, began considering quitting but kept encouraging himself. That night, he went to check his fishing trap by the shore and surprisingly caught a trout. The fish came at just the right time. The fish came at a perfect time. Although it wasn't very big, it was enough for Mick to have a hearty meal tonight. Mick made a pot of fish soup and was very happy to have some meat. If this fish helps Mick hold on to win the championship, its value would be worth millions. Mick hadn't eaten meat for 18 days, and his confidence was reignited. What surprises will they bring us next? Stay tuned for the next episode. He hauled a massive eel, weighing hundreds of pounds, back to his shelter, which was decorated with his various trophies. He skinned the eel and handled its head with brutal precision, clearly not to impress anyone. He rationed the eel, eating only half a portion each day, determined to outlast the woman who could drown a kangaroo with her urine. On the 51st day, only 2 contestants remained. It was Mick's son's birthday, and he made a mud cake by the shore, showing his sincerity despite the circumstances. Mick stayed positive, not showing much sadness even though it was his son's birthday, because the prize money was worth it. Compared to a birthday, the prize money was indeed more important. Although Mick hadn't found food recently, he wasn't ready to leave. Before coming here, he had gained 19 pounds, enough fat to last him 30 days. He built a raft, made fishing rods, and set traps in the jungle, but hadn't had any luck hunting. His only success was catching a lot of eels. Mick had been working hard to get food, but luck wasn't on his side, unlike Gina, who seemed to catch a kangaroo every time she went out. One thing that puzzled him was why he kept catching eels. Seeing Mick catch so many eels, his shelter is filled with eel meat, enough for 10 days. Now, Mick eats half an eel a day, and his body is in a state of consumption. He's very worried that eating too much will speed up his metabolism. Mick fried a pot of eel meat for lunch, and it tasted amazing. After eating, all he could think about was how much longer he had to stay. He didn't know how many people were still here, but if he did, he would definitely hold out until the end. On the 52nd day, Gina was singing in the morning. She had plenty of meat and didn't need to waste time. As for why he managed to kill a kangaroo while out for a pee that night, I really suspect it was a setup by the show. With that catch, Gina was mostly just lying around every day. As long as she didn't miss her family too much and kept a good mindset, she had a 90% chance of winning. She was having meat soup for breakfast every day, which looked gross but kept her alive. Eating just meat every day wasn't good either. Gina planned to go out and look for some greens. She searched around her shelter and saw a snake. It wasn't very big, but any protein was valuable at this point. Gina didn't bring any tools and just stared at the snake, wanting to catch it but not taking any action. With so many stones and sticks around, she couldn't think of a way. She left only after the snake had gone. By evening, she realized she had walked a long way without finding any greens. Was she really looking for food? Just then, the sky started rumbling, and it looked like it was going to rain. Soon, hail began to fall, and the wind picked up. Mick's shelter was blown wide open. Luckily, it wasn't fully winter yet, or his shelter would have turned into an icebox if it snowed. Mick's bed fell apart and his tent leaked, drenching his blanket, highlighting his dire situation. By the 5th day, it had rained for 3 days straight. Luckily, Gina's shelter had a fire and was the best among the contestants. She relied on the remaining meat for energy and was thankful for her well-built shelter. She had built a perfect shelter, which allowed her to stay safe despite the continuous rain. Gina had been starving in the early days, making her a true underdog. She planned to further improve her shelter by adding another fireplace to make it warmer. She used stones to build a stove, but the stones were quite round, making it difficult to construct. Gina failed several times while building it, and the stone stove almost drove her to despair. By the 58th day, Mick encountered a small problem. He noticed that the eel meat in his shelter had started to smell. The fish meat starts to soften. Perhaps due to the recent rainy weather, the humidity has caused the eel meat to spoil. Previously, he was reluctant to eat it, but now he must deal with it quickly. Why didn't he make it into smoked jerky? If Mick wastes this meat, his chances of winning might be slim. On day 24, he had made a smoker, but this time he got so much meat. Without a smoker, it was really a pity not to smoke it. Mick decided to cook a big pot of eel meat and have a hearty meal tonight. He hadn't eaten this well in a long time, but what should he do next? By the 59th day, Gina and Mick were in a tight race, relying on who could hold out the longest. The continuous rain made the competition harder, forcing them to stay in their shelters and survive on their remaining food. At this critical moment, the shelter played a crucial role. Gina was already thinking about what to do with the prize money, even though the competition wasn't over yet. She was already thinking about how to spend the prize money. Gina's spirits remained high. As long as she didn't dwell on her family, staying a few more days wouldn't be an issue. Finally, the rain stopped. Mick still had an eel in his shelter. He sniffed it constantly to ensure it hadn't spoiled. He cut off some of the bad meat and threw it into the water. Why didn't he use it as bait for kangaroos? This decision was questionable. Mick had about 2.5 days worth of food left. On day 60, the low water level made fishing tough, so Mick decided to conserve his energy. He eats just 2 pieces of eel per meal, savoring it slowly since it's all he has left. On the 61st day, he consumes his last piece of fish. Though he's tired of it, it's his final hope. After finishing, he faces hunger. He licks the pot clean, even savoring the taste of the iron. Heavy rain begins in the middle of the night. By early morning on the 62nd day, the water level rises about a meter, giving Mick new hope. He searches for bait to fish, digging through mud under deadwood but finds nothing. He often thought about winning this challenge, and it seemed he was now relying on sheer willpower to keep going. By day 64, it rained almost every day. Today was Mick's 46th birthday, and he had nothing to eat. I tell myself, I'm 46, and I'm proud to be 46. I'm proud to have weathered so much. I'm glad to still be here, even though I've lost my mom to cancer. And that's a real gift. My parents shielded their kids from a lot of risks. My love for them is immense, and I was very lucky. I didn't need anyone to tell me to be careful. Expect it and check sometime today. After the rain stopped, Gina couldn't wait to go for a walk. She has only a little meat left, and her body is getting thinner. Hunting is extremely difficult now, and she doesn't know how much longer she can last. Soon, the show's boat appeared again. Today is the day for the contestants' medical checkups. It was the day for Mick's medical checkup. The doctor checked his blood pressure and lung function, noting how thin he had become. After asking some basic questions, the doctor informed the show crew that Mick's blood pressure was extremely low. "Hi sir, the last key times have come, and your condition is becoming more and more dangerous. The value is that of a majority around severe malnutrition affecting your body. If you were in a hospital, the community would be worried about you. It's not safe for you to continue. We need to extract you." For Mick's safety, the doctor insisted he withdraw from the competition. Mick had shown a wide array of survival skills, far more than Gina. However, Gina's luck in finding a kangaroo at a critical moment allowed her to last this long. Mick's loss was purely due to bad luck. If Gina hadn't hunted that kangaroo, she would have likely quit the competition long ago. Mick's withdrawal shows that a contestant with survival skills lost to one with sheer luck, which goes against the original intent of Alone. The show was meant to reward the contestant who could survive the longest using their survival skills in the wilderness. But the reality is that the current champion didn't win through skills. She just built a shelter and didn't show any other survival skills. On day 67, the doctor came to check on Gina, but instead of giving the results, he announced that Gina had successfully completed the challenge and was the last contestant standing. This is the first season of the Australian version of Alone, and Gina is the first female champion. During the interview, Gina couldn't believe she had won. He was quite surprised by the outcome. That's it for this episode. Even though Gina won, I prefer champions who demonstrate extensive survival skills. Stay tuned for updates on the latest season of the British version of Alone.